This is the third and final video just for the TI Nspire overview. In this video, we're going to look at some of the graphing features of the Graphs app, just enough to get you started. More advanced graphing features are going to be better learned when we're in the classroom. Remember, you can always try to learn these on your own as well. Alright, so we're going to start if you go to your calculator, and again, I'll point out any differences that come up with using the CAS2 here. But again, let's go to a new document. Here we want to go to the Add Graphs. And then just looking at these features, we're always going to see something at the very top here, which is our function. So if you've looked at other calculators, you might see a y equals, but this is just our first function, so f1 of x. The more graphs we type in, we're going to see an f2 of x, and so on. What's kind of neat with this too is we no longer always have to type our equations in slope-intercept form. If we go to the menu key here, we can go to Graph Entry Edit. Let's go back up to that one. And then you could use number one for a function, or now we could just type in a relation, and we could type in standard form. We could type in any form we want to, including an x in this case. We don't always have to solve for y. So that's what's going to be nice, but we could just hit escape. We'll use this more so throughout the classroom for the rest of the school year. But if you go back to escape here, just to make sure, we go to menu, graph entry, edit, and make sure that we're just on function here. Alright, so let's go ahead and just type in a linear function. Make sure that you're at this top part. You could just hit tab to make sure if you're not, the cursor's not already up here. Let's just type in the linear function 2x minus 5. And then we hit enter. So we just wanted to do that just to practice something very basic. Now, if we wanted to type another function in here on the same window, we would just hit tab, and now we're set up for our second one. But let's not do that. Let's create a new a new page in our document. So let's go to Control Doc. Again, we're going to go back to Add Graphs. That way we still have our tabs. We can still go back and forth between the pages. Here, let's type in a quadratic. So we're going to type in x. Now you can raise it to the power of 2 using the caret key right here, or right next to it. Next to the 4 here, there's just an x squared. If you're with any other exponent, let's say we wanted to type in an x cubed for right now, we have to hit the caret key and then a 3, and then remember we're still up with the exponent, so we want to hit over to get back down. But we just want to turn that into a 2, so we want to hit x squared now. And let's just do a minus x and minus 6. Now we're going to practice using the trace feature here, so go ahead and hit enter so we could see our parabola. And then if we go to menu, 5, 1 is the graph trace, and then this allows us, we can hit the right or left arrow key on the touchpad and it moves for us so we could see various points. Notice it is going to, for the most part, will show us special points here, so, and it's going to indicate in this case we're at the y-intercept. If we kept hitting to the right, it also shows us the minimum. We're going to use that feature along with the Analyze Graph feature as well. And then if we wanted to go through points a little quicker, as long as we're in the trace mode or the trace feature here, instead of always just hitting to the right or to the left, you could type in a 2, and notice it says down here, I know it's a little bit harder to see, but x equals 2, hit enter, and it takes us to that point of 2, negative 4. So we could jump right to that value. It only allows us right now to find, or to input the x value, and then it'll take us to that point. Just hitting to the right a little more. Notice right here on the x-axis it says 0. That's our y-intercept. Notice that the y is 0 and then the x is 3. So you could use the trace feature here, hitting to the right or to the left, or again, as long as we're in trace mode, you could type in, let's say we wanted a negative 2. Notice it's a little bit clearer now. X equals negative 2, hit enter, and it takes us over to the other value. Now here, since I just jumped to it, it's not indicating that that's a 0, but if we hit a little bit to the right or to the left and then to the right again, now it indicates that we're at an x-intercept. Something else we could do, we're not going to use this too much, but if you go back to menu, 5, and then 3, we can indicate how we want to, when we move to the right or to the left, how we want the x values to move, or the intervals that they're moving here. So you could go automatic, you could type in a 0.5, you could type in a 0.1, hit OK, and then as we move to the right here, we could see that we're just, each x is increasing. It's going a little crazy here. Each x is increasing or decreasing just by a half. So we could set how we want the trace to move to the right or to the left. All right, next we're going to take a look at points of intersection. So let's go ahead and add another page. We'll do Control Dock. Again, go to Add Graphs. Here we want to type in a quadratic function of x squared minus 4. Hit Enter. Now we want another graph to show up on the same window here, so go ahead and hit Tab. Let's just type in a linear equation here of x plus 2. Now there's a couple ways to find the points of intersection. I find it's going to be the easiest if we go to Menu. We could do a lot with the Analyze Graph, so it's going to be number 6, Analyze Graph. This is where we could find the x-intercepts, the mins, the maxes, points of intersection, and then there's some calculus involved in here as well. But let's go to 4 for intersection. Now this is going to, we're going to have to do this a couple of times here because notice we have 2 points of intersection. So if you're using your touchpad, I've got a little stylus here that's allowing me to kind of move this vertical dotted line here. But if you just use your mouse pad here, you could kind of scroll over and it will move it. You could slide it. What we want to do is just go a little bit on either side. So just a little bit to the left of the point of intersection. That's our lower bound. And then as soon as that is stationary, then we can move. Notice how it's like highlighted in gray, and as soon as I cross over that point of intersection, it's telling me, hey, this is a point of intersection. So I've got a negative 2, 0 as one point of intersection. Then we just repeat the process. So we're going to go to Menu, 6, Analyze Graph. We want to go back to intersection, but now we're over here. And it really doesn't matter which side we start with. I always like to move from left to right here. So I could just click a little bit to the left, go over. We have another point of intersection at 3, 5. Now this is what's nice. What we can do too is if you hover over something, because a lot of times it might drop points over equations, you see the little hand, and then if we kind of press down and then we can drag it, you're going to just kind of use your mouse pad to do this, and then once you see the hand over it, you could press down and hold, and then the hand should grab. Then you can move it and then press or click the mouse pad again, and it should release it here. So we can move stuff out of the way if we need to. All right, and let's take a look at another graph. So go to a new graphs page. Here we want to type in x cubed. So remember, we have to hit the caret key and then x to the third here. And then we have to hit over one more time. Let's do a minus 3x squared minus 3x and then plus 1. So we have a nice cubic function here. Here we're going to find the maxes and min values, the relative extrema. And we will use this quite a bit throughout this course as well. But eventually, calculus is going to help us where we don't always have to rely on the Analyze Graph feature here. All right, so if we wanted to change the settings, notice how I have this part right here that it's a little bit out of the window. So we go to Menu. 4 is our window zoom. And then we can just go to Window Settings. And we can tab down until we get to the Y min. And maybe we can make that at a negative 15. And then just tab down again to hit OK. And then we have a nice view that's right here. So we could go to Menu. We could go back to Analyze Graph. But here, let's go ahead and find our maximum first because we have a peak that we come across first. And kind of like the points of intersection, I just want to go a little bit to the left of that relative max and then a little bit to the right. Now indicating here, I'm going to move this out of the way. And we're going to practice this, but the max and min is actually only the Y value. So here I would say the max is really the 1.66. And we could take this out further too. Going back to Menu, we can go to Settings under the Graphs app here. And this is only going to change. So notice I'm only in float 3. I could take it to float 6. Stay in radians, and everything else should just stay the same. But I wanted to do float 6. So if I go to OK, notice now how it takes it out a little bit further. Because in this class, in calculus, we always want to just round to the nearest thousand, so 3 decimal places always. So here, my relative max is 1.657 when x is a negative 0.414. Let's go back through the process. Go to Menu, 6, Analyze Graph. Let's go to minimum. So again, down here, I'm just going a little bit to the left of that lowest point and a little bit to the right. So now my min is going to be a negative 9.657 when x is about a 2.414. We can also find the x-intercepts this way. Sometimes if they're not nice enough, I believe the trace should always work, but to be a little bit accurate and just to get to the answers a lot quicker, we could go to Menu, Analyze Graph. Let's go to 0, and again, we just want to go a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. So I have one x-intercept at -1. Again, we don't care about the y's. The y should always be 0 here. If it doesn't show a 0, it might show like a -1.007e to the -12. That number, it's just indicating a really small number. It's still practically 0. So we'll do this 2 more times here. Analyze graph, 0. Go a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right. So again, we have another point here, another x-intercept roughly at about 0.268. And we'll do this one more time. For a third x-intercept, I move this out of the way so we can see a little bit better. But third x-intercept is going to be 3.732. So just some nice review over analyzing the graph or using that feature on this calculator. So this concludes the Nspire overview. I hope that it was a good experience for you just to go back and review. Please revisit it from time to time. As always, email me, or hopefully when we get back to class, let me know what questions you have about the calculator.